of you who join us later, this is one cow. This is one of our semi-unscheduled periodic live streams. We actually had one last week that got interrupted when I had unexpected visitors. But that's what happens when you have 16 children. Sometimes they surprise you. And you know what? It's always a pleasant surprise when they do. Okay. Let me see while we wait for people to get here. I get the cigar up and running. We had a really good tripod for a while that Alaska Adam sent us. And it died. It went the way of all flesh. So now I'm using a piece of trash tripod. I don't know who's here. It's good to see you though. Let me make sure I've got enough matches to, I do. I have something of a topic this evening, but I don't have much of a topic this evening. So I'm counting on you men to carry the load for me. Let me get this cigar lit. Get this camera situated. I was thinking I might have a fire tonight, but it's kind of like right there on the cusp. It's 56 degrees here. Hey, Tim Sloan. And 56 degrees is right there on the cusp for me. I'm old. I'd be fine if I was moving around, but sitting here, I'm not okay at 56 degrees. If it drops down to 54, I'm probably lighting a fire. Oh, come on. I actually have a really good scotch in there tonight we could be drinking. My son, who interrupted us last week, brought his prospective father-in-law over this morning, and this gentleman, being a gentleman of sense and discretion and good taste, brought me a bottle of whiskey. It's a really nice scotch. I don't remember what it was. We just sipped on it some this morning, but it tasted really, really good. It pairs well with the cigars I have right now, which is pretty amazing, since the cigars I have right now are $2 cigars, and the fact that they pair with anything is pretty good. Good evening, Mr. Owens. So, what I wanted to talk about this evening for just a minute, I'm sure you men are going to take us off on far better rabbit holes than I could ever. Rabbit trails? Is it rabbit holes or rabbit trails? It's a good question. Than I could ever come up with on my own was the topic of strong men. This is on my mind at the moment, because I keep meaning to do a Bible study of the phrase strong men. I haven't done it yet because I don't do any of the things I start. It's just not my idiom. I like to start things and not finish them. But there's this passage of scripture that's been not earth shattering, but the passage is, hey, Jacques Bourne, how you doing? The passage is, strong men retain wealth, and it always bothered me because I've never been able to retain wealth. I mean, the instant a dollar came in, $1.50 went out. And probably a lot of you are been in that same boat. And like, it's kind of a bullshit on surface level when you first look at it. It's kind of a bullshit thing to say. Oh, you're poor. If you were a strong man, you'd retain wealth. It's like, what the fuck? Screw you. What the hell? But it's Bible, and so we got to take it seriously. Uh, and in my case, it was true. I was not retaining wealth because I was weak, at least in that area or in some areas. And I had to come to grips with this. And this was within the last 2 years. I mean, I turned 50 this year, and it was in the last 2 years I finally added this one. Well, I'm not gonna say this one missing, but this glaring missing aspect of my masculinity finally gets added in at 47, 48 years of age, uh, and now all of a sudden, flip got switched, and I can't really explain it. It started a little sooner than 2 years ago. Uh, we bought this house, I think, in 2011, and what I said then was that I don't care what happens. I don't care if we don't eat. The house payment gets made, uh, and we stuck to that, and we got it paid off in 7 years. And so it started there. It really started with the purchase of this house and the determination that I would under no circumstances would I lose the house or not make the payment, which was not a foregone conclusion because we were very dirt desperately poor. We were broke as a bicycle, as my buddy Clint used to say. I asked him to explain to me uh, that statement, and he shrugged his shoulders and said, "You got a bicycle?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Is it broken?" I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "They always are. Bicycles are always broken." So he'd always say, "Broke as a bicycle," and we were just absolutely as broke as a bicycle. Uh, so so the the screw started turning back in 2011 when I determined no matter what we weren't going to lose our house that we bought because we needed that way. Uh, much late because what had happened. You see, what had happened was Mariah had gotten a $10,000 inheritance, and so we put that down on the house, the whole thing. Put her whole inheritance down on the house, and moved out here from a far less uh, desirable situation. And I just determined, this woman put her her inheritance from her grandmother in this thing. We can't. This has got to stick. We're not losing this. Uh, and so obviously, okay, it is a double wide trailer on 2 acres in the middle of nowhere, but it's still wealth. And the way housing prices have gone up, it's actually substantial wealth for me. For me, we could walk away from this thing tomorrow with multiple times my annual wage, which is insane to me. It's psychotic that that housing costs have gone that high. I don't know how they expect young people to make it. They don't. I mean, they don't expect young people to make it these days. It's a feature, not a bug. They do it on purpose. Anyway, that being said, I wouldn't have recognized it at the time as a turnaround, but looking back on it now, I can see that as a point where that the ship started turning. What they say about aircraft, it takes like miles of open ocean to turn an aircraft carrier. Uh, my and here I'm acting like the journey's done. The journey's not done. I've just finally uh, got the aircraft carrier turned around and headed in the opposite direction. Uh, I make about 50K a year, support 11 people at least. Uh, And so the question becomes, how the hell do you retain wealth, jackass? Uh, and I've talked about it before, and I hate to be boring, but it's just on my mind because I was talking to someone else about it recently. And for me, I'm not saying this would work for everyone, but I found a portion of my income that was like completely separate. It's a hobby. I like to scrap. Yeah, property taxes are extortion, and we should start a movement to abolish property taxes. I don't think it's actually a crazy idea. You'd have to go state by state, uh, but you know, I think it's entirely possible that our individual states could fund their budget some other way than property taxes. At least on a first house or so much of a house under a certain level. Um, Certainly, agricultural land shouldn't be taxed. Uh, Certainly, no property should be taxed on inheritance, when it's being passed down to a family member. Uh, these are no nonsense, common sense. Why aren't we doing this sort of thing? Because when property taxes are, it's the government owns your land and they're renting you your property at the end of the day because they can take it away from you if you fail to pay them. They're here. It's $500-600 a year. If I don't pay them my $500-600 a year, they can come take it. And you know what? That means it's theirs. It's not mine. I'm renting it from them. Uh, so yeah, that needs to be done away with. Anyway, getting back to how I started turning things around. I have this little source of income that it's a hobby. I like to scrap. I just like to keep my eyes open, and when I find stuff, free or laying around or getting thrown out, I grab it. And actually, if you've watched some of the videos a few times, I've shown my scrap pile, and it's waxed and waned over the years. Sometimes it gets big, and sometimes it gets small, and uh, it's never too small though. It's always there. Uh, and recently, well, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I started getting a little more serious about it. And yeah, I was just doing steel. I would just, I would find metal appliances, anything getting thrown out those metal, and I would throw it in a pile. And every once in a while, I would haul it off, and I'd get 50, 60, $70, depending on what the steel price was, and yeah, that'd be it. In the last few years, because I drive so much for work, I've run across a lot more. And I'm in a truck, and so I throw it all in the back of the truck. If I find, I love the springtime for many, many reasons, but one of the note reasons is remodels. People seem to remodel their bathrooms in the spring a lot, and they'll put all that stuff out on the curb. And if you're lucky, old old bathroom fixtures are just giant chunks of brass. Uh, Now newer ones have much less brass on them, but old ones are just like a 3 pound chunk of brass. Even if it looks chromed, it's chromed brass. Uh, and so every time I see those on spot, I pull over, and start going through. I just throw it all in the back of the truck and sort it at the house. And uh, so I started setting that instead of just letting that money go into the family budget, because the family budget, there's always something in the family budget that can always something that needs money spent on it. Always. Uh, and legitimate stuff too. I mean, it's not just like we're out there buying, as the kids say these days, getting our drip right. Which I found out recently means that your wardrobe. If your drip is right, that means you've got like cool clothes and accessories. As you can see, that's something I'm very concerned with. But instead of just handing that 50, $60 to the wife and saying, use it, I set that money aside, not for savings, because if we have cash, we will spend cash. Like I said, it's not even illegitimate stuff. I mean, we've got a large family. There's always something we could spend money on, and it be legitimate. So, what I did, and most of you are bored, and your eyes are rolling in the back of your head, and you want to talk about property taxes, and we will talk about property taxes. But there's a couple of men out there tonight that need to hear this. That sounded that sounded all Pentecostal. I don't know who out there needs to hear this, but there's some of you out there right now, hopefully within the sound of my voice, who are sort of resonating with this constant sense of failure and inadequacy because there we go. Tim's all way, way, way ahead of me. Because you're always broke and you can never save anything, and you kind of know, you feel like in the back of your mind, that this is an indictment of your masculinity. Well, I'm going to tell you how you can beat this thing, and it works. It works so well that in 2 years, 2.5, it's not even 2.5 years, but it's been about 2 years, but it's been over 2 years, less than 2.5 years. Let's just say 2.5 years. In 2.5 years, I make 50,000 a year. Hey, Landon, shalom. Have 11 people in the household. We don't have food stamps or any of that stuff. The kids are on what it's called peach care here in Georgia. So I don't have to pay health insurance for anybody. But that's it. Other than that, we're self sufficient financially speaking. And in 2+ years, I've been able to save $11,000. $11,000. And this from a man who at the beginning of that 2.5 year period, I didn't have $50. Seriously, my savings was nothing. The only thing I had was this house that had been paid off for a few years, uh, and if we needed new tires on the car, I was going to have to do something drastic. Now, less than 3 years later, I've got $11,000 set back. Well, 5 to 11,000, depending on what the silver market's doing. Now, I've got some advantages that not everyone has. I have a job that affords me the ability to scrap. Uh, and I really like scrapping. Like, it's a fun hobby for me. I was doing it long before I realized how much money I was leaving on the table. And I have a local coin shop. I've got a coin shop just a few miles away. I can go up there. I take my scrap straight to the scrap yard. I leave the scrap yard. I go to the bank. I cash the check. I leave the bank and I go straight to the coin store. No stops in between. I don't stop at the gun store. Not that I have that much scrap, but nothing. I go from the bank to the coin shop and I buy my silver. Whatever I've got. There have been weeks when I've gone in there and bought 6 silver dimes. Uh, Now, I don't only buy, normally I try to wait until I've got at least enough to buy an ounce. Uh, but sometimes I go in there and just buy, like I've just got a few dollars in my wallet. Uh, Always, usually from scrap. So, if someone gives me a birthday present or something, or I've accelerated. Once I started making progress, I got a little obsessive about it, and now every time I come across a little extra cash here or there, I'm probably going to put it in silver. But you can go buy one silver dime a week for $2.50. You can't really, if you needed that money, you could go get that money in a day or two. Uh, uh, Seriously, yeah, you just take it back down to the silver shop, or you do a private sale, or you have a different. You can get your money back out of this silver in a day, one business day. if I decided I needed it Monday, I'd take it with me to work, and I'd stop at a coin store a little closer to Atlanta, where I'd probably get a little bit more for it than up here. Or if it was an emergency, I would send Mariah down to the coin store with the silver. I'd call down there and tell old Rodney, hey, Mariah's coming in with my silver. Here's what it is. Get me close to spot. Uh, and I'd have my money. I'd have it that day. So I can get the money out, and I can get the money out pretty easy. But I can't get it so easy. It's just inconvenient enough that you don't go to it. You don't go to that well often. And actually, I've yet to sell any. Uh, if you saved, if you bought $10 worth of dimes a week, that's 4 dimes. That's 4 silver dimes, roughly. The price fluctuates, but right now a silver dime is between like 250 and $3. Uh, if you bought 4 silver dimes a week, once a month, every month you're going to have 16 silver dimes. And with American constitutional money, every $1.40 of face value is an ounce of silver. Uh, the coins themselves are 90% silver, so if you took those 14 dimes and you weighed them, they would weigh more than an ounce, but 90% of what they weigh would be silver, and that would equal an ounce. Uh, and for $10 a week, once a month, you've got over an ounce of silver. At the end of the year, you've got, I think, 13 ounces, 14 ounces. You've got 14, 15 ounces of silver, uh, and and suddenly you've got 300 and let's just say $350 to make the math easy because I am terrible at math. And suddenly you've got $350 in the bank, or not in the bank, in the safe. Uh, and actually more than that, because the price is always trickling up. Silver always trickles up. Uh, Now, who amongst us can't find $10 a week? If we looked, be honest with me. If you looked, you can find $10 a week. You absolutely can find $10 a week somewhere. It might not be $10 every week, it might be $20 every 2 weeks, but we can all absolutely turn up $10 a week somewhere. You can find yourself a coin store somewhere. Now, this doesn't work if you're having to order your silver online because the shipping costs will eat you alive. Uh, but all of us could go buy $10 worth of silver dimes a week, or well, like you can mix it up. $10 to get you like a silver quarter is like 5.50, $6 right now. I don't actually know because I don't buy quarters too much. I don't know why I don't buy quarters. I just don't normally buy them. Uh, a 50 cent piece is like $12, 12 bucks. Uh, you could mix it up, but somewhere in your life you can either generate 10 extra dollars a week, or you can save 10 extra dollars a week. And look, it's not hard. If you do any kind of eating out, if you stop at the racetrack and get yourself a hot dog and a Coca-Cola a couple times a week, I mean, there's all sorts of ways and places where you'd be able to save $10 a week. Uh, you go get yourself a little bit of silver and you stick it somewhere safe, and it starts growing on your ass. And then one day you look at it because you start getting obsessed with it, uh, and you catch fire, uh, and you're like, oh no, I gotta have. And I actually have to be very careful now that I don't take money out of the family budget to go buy silver. I only let myself buy silver with my scrap money. Now that I've got $10,000 worth, now I've actually started taking some of the scrap money, and now for the first time in my life, I'm putting some of it in the stock market, like with the view to get it to be like an IRA or something. Uh, and suddenly, at 50 years of age, this irresponsible hillbilly, who at one point was unemployed and homeless and not taking care of his 6 children, uh, has a paid off house and $10,000 set aside, and is finally at 50 starting to prepare for his retirement, which is way too late. This is not something to brag about, by the way. This is an indictment. This is definitely an indictment of my character that at 50 years of age, 49 years of age, now suddenly I'm interested in my retirement. I don't know what the hell I was thinking at 48. I don't know why 49. Well, I know what it was because it always seemed impossible. It always seemed like, well, yeah, I'd love to, but I can't. You know, I've got too much on me. And I did. I had a lot on me. I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I mean, I had chosen it all. I had taken it all on willingly, and I would again. But 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 once I had a little bit of headway, a little bit of steam, a little bit of progress, uh, suddenly it became like, uh, the whole thing was always, oh, I can't invest because I don't even have any savings. Why would I be buying stocks when I couldn't put tires on my wife's car? And now suddenly I've got enough money where if I lost my job tomorrow, we don't have to. I don't have to panic. I've got 2 or 3 months set back, and now suddenly I feel like, oh, I can go, invest this tiny. It is a tiny sum of money, by the way. Let's do not be do not be deceived, young man. I am by no means not still dirt poor hillbilly below the poverty line. But that's sort of that's the part that's got me so uh, mad at myself, at my young self. I want to grab myself and shake me because I could have been doing this all along. I could have been putting that $10 a week or whatever it ends up being. Uh, Pick your own amount that you can handle. I could have been doing this for the last 30 years. I could be a damn millionaire right now and never have made a dime more than I ever made. If I would have just been putting money aside, this tiny little bit of money, this time value, let's say value, let's not say money, because you know what? I think maybe that's where we get hung up sometimes. The chat is absolutely dead. You guys are not talking at all. I need to see some comments. I'm counting on all y'all men to give us the next topic when I run out of steam here in a minute. Oh, I could have been doing this for the last 30 years. And maybe I wouldn't be a millionaire right now. I did read somewhere one time that if a 20-year-old man starts putting away $100 a month and investing it uh, at average returns, that by the time he's 40, he's a millionaire. Uh, so Rico's thinking of joining the National Guard. What are your thoughts on that right now? Rico, I think now is a fantastic time. What's up, Pokey? Uh, right now is a fantastic time to join the military. Uh, I know that things look a little dicey over there in Ukraine right now. We're not getting involved in that. I can tell you right now, with this administration in office, that if you ended up at war, it would be a legitimate war that you would not regret having been involved in. This president is not going to send us our boys somewhere stupid for stupid reasons. He's dialing back the DEI horse shit. He's trying to cut out the transgendered stuff. Now would be the perfect time to join the military. Uh, while there is some sanity in place, uh, I say don't wait. You call that recruiter tomorrow. You get into boot camp as quick as you can. Go have an adventure. Now's the time. Uh, I'm trying to talk my sons into doing the reserves right now. I wouldn't mind them if they went active, but my two oldest sons are both a little older and they've already kind of started careers. And, uh, the ideal time for a young man to go do that is immediately after high school. They wanted to do it immediately after high school, but that was COVID. And, they weren't going to go take the poison death shot, the Fauci ouchie, as they say. Mhm. And I supported them in that. It would be nice if they went now and kept the family tradition alive. But I understand, one of them's 24. He'll be 25 this year. The other one just turned 21, and he's got himself a little honey. It's a beautiful little girl. Uh, Rico says, I went to college for wait, come back here. I went to college instead for engineering, but bit off more than I could chew. Yeah. Oh, Liberty Seeker says up here in New York, they confiscate $50,000 a year easy through taxes. Makes it tough to thrive. That would make it tough to live if you have to pay $50,000 a year in taxes. I mean, that's my income. I make $50,000 a year. Uh, and New York taxes you for that entire amount. That's that's insane. I I mean, I know how hard it is to move, especially when you're already struggling and picking everything up, and it's financially impossible. I get it, so I know why you know people put up with it because they don't have a choice. But God, it would fly all over me, and it flies all over you too, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, no, Rico, I say now engineering. I mean, that's a hell of a career choice. I mean, that's a reason to go to college. If you're going to do something useful like be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or something, it makes sense to go to college. Nothing else makes sense going to college. Most people go to college because they need something to do after high school because they're not ready to join the real world yet. Uh, and so they go to college, and it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money, and it makes them much poorer in the long run. But if you actually you're going to be an engineer, I'd stick that out, brother. I'd stick that out. Engineers are useful people who electrical engineering has 100% placement out of college these days. Wow, wow. If some young man came to me and said, "What career should I go into?" I would say electrical engineer. Hey, Arcan, it's going pretty good, sir. How you doing? Because I mean, the whole world runs on electricity. I mean, it just the whole world runs on electricity. You even all these obviously even computers run. Newsflash, man, computers run on electricity. No, uh, obviously that was a stupid thing to say. A Liberty Seeker's got $12,000 a year land tax. That's after tax money, a tiny piece of land. Hopefully, we'll be able to flee New York for free America at some point. Hopefully. I support trade schools over college unless you're wanting to lawyer, doctor, or engineer. Yeah, I agree 100%, Tim. And I would even say lawyers should have the option to not go to college uh, because honestly, uh, you know, there's people out there smart enough to learn all that by themselves, go take a bar exam, and not waste 9 years or 7 years or whatever the hell it is going to college and spending all that money. But if you're gonna be a lawyer under the current system, you pretty much have to. So, I mean, I get it. I wonder if there's any value in going to be an electrician and then going to electrical engineering school, or if that just slows you down too much. And electrical engineering is just one of those things where it's worth it to just go to college. I don't have no idea what it would cost to get a degree in electrical engineering. Uh, oh, Engineer to Succeed says that's how he did it. Well, my oldest son's an electrician journeyman. He's not licensed yet, but maybe that's what he'll do. Hopefully, I'd love to have an engineer in the family. Uh, you'll have to tell us some. Hey, Mark Becker. Good evening, sir. You'll have to tell us more about that engineer to succeed one day when you got to feel like clickety clacking typing. That progression from being a tradesman, blue collar tradesman, electrician to electrical engineer. That's probably an interesting story and one more of us should hear and maybe try to even emulate. Of course, no one needs a rat catcher engineer, so I'd have a hard time transitioning. Uh, you had a mentor, huh? Your boss was a master electrician, encouraged you to push yourself. As you know, that's okay. So as men, we have incredible power in other men's life, as engineer just pointed out, that he had this boss who just pushed him. This whole journey for me on this silver I was just talking about started because another man gave me an ounce of silver and encouraged me to look into it and kind of cast the vision. This is Pete Rambo. If any of you are familiar with Pete and his channel Parlay with Pete, I had a personal relationship with Pete before we ever started his channel, uh, and and he did that for me. He cast that vision. He got me started. He encouraged me. Uh, and yeah, it would have never happened if that other man hadn't spoken into my life like that. Oh wow, Mark Becker's youngest is an electronic engineer, designs softwares for satellites. That is awesome. See something useful like that, where you're building things, where you're doing something tangible that improves people's lives. You're building bridges, you're launching satellites, uh, you're designing safe electrical systems for houses, and yeah, you sticking around this time, Jarhead. You showed up. We're 40 minutes in. What are you talking about? Always a day late and a dollar short over there at the Palmetto household. 40 minutes in, and he's like, "You sticking around?" I tell you what, young man. I tell you what. Y'all want to hear something crazy? Uh, I was busy. Yeah. You should know. I don't need to try it, Palmetto. No. Uh, I want to be Baloo. Just look for the bare necessities. No, we have friends. We don't know. We're not like close, but we admire them and we like them and we interact with them when we can. This lady is 51 years of age and pregnant. She's pregnant at 51. Uh, Nothing's as crazy as an ex-wife. You know what though? I've been feeling a little tender towards my ex-wife lately. I don't know why. I shouldn't say tender. I've been feeling a little sympathetic towards my ex-wife as of late, and I don't know why. Maybe time has just, time heals all wounds, I guess. But it's gotten easier to remember the good times when we were young before we did all that damage to each other. But no, I'm pretty hardcore. Yeah, I am getting soft. Engineered needs more time. We all need more time. Uh, I'm pretty hardcore on this kid stuff. Even I was shocked. I was like 51. Wow, that's damned impressive. Uh, if if my wife had kids all the way up to 51, I could get 4 or 5 more out of her, uh, at least. How old is she? I think she's 42. She might be 43. Might be about to turn 43. So 7 years, well, 8 years. Yeah, 3 to 4. 3 to 4. You get me up to 20. Patrick E is here up in Commie, Canada. Patrick, we got to know, brother, who you voting for? You got to tell us because we don't know what to think. We know this Mark Carney. Is it Carney? Sounds like a terrible idea. Polyev, Pierre, yeah, in Canada, Pierre Polyev. Am I saying that right? He sounded for a while like he was the real deal, but now he's never trust a Carney. uh, yeah, but now he's getting all like soft on waffling and everything. And I just heard this other guy, the People's Party, which sounds like it would be some raging communist. But he sounded pretty good when the interview I heard from him. So we need to know who to pull for, Patrick. Who's the real deal up there? Now, you're probably also asking yourself why does this Georgia hillbilly know anything at all about Canadian politics? And it's just because I listen to a podcast for the Canadian who talks about it sometimes. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. But she just has a good podcast about other things. What's the name of it? The Same Drugs. Kind of a fun lady. She was a raging she was like straight up commie, and claimed to be a commie, and then just got red pilled, and now she's to the right of Attila the Hun. She's just a lunatic right winger, and it's really kind of fun to listen to her. Okay, Patrick says us that Pierre Polyev is the best out of bad options, but Maxime Bernier is the best. Oh, that's who it was. Yeah, it was Maxine because I was making fun of his sissy name. Where'd he go? Come back. But Maxime Bernier is the best. He's a libertarian with good values. Okay, so Patrick is going for Pierre Polyev, who's kind of like a mainstream Republican for us down here. It sounds like Polyev is sort of might be comparable to a Ted Cruz or a Marco Rubio for us. And it sounds like Maxime Bernier is maybe more Trumpian, but the thing I was listening to said that a lot of more conservative voters don't want to split their ticket, and they're worried that Bernier can't win, and so they're all going to vote for Polyev because he's not terrible. He's way better than the alternative. I understand that kind of compromise. I've made it myself in the past. I voted for Mitt Romney, and even at the time, I hadn't completely finished my my red pill turn at the time yet. But even then, I was holding my nose voting for some Mitt Romney. I was not okay with all that. I was more, and someone's about to throw rocks at me. I was more okay voting for, Mark, I had to vote for somebody. I mean, that was the compromise. I understood. I mean, I understand where, yeah, Mitt was a tool, or Mitt is a tool. And even at the time, I knew he was a tool, even though I wasn't, completely woke yet, woke in the right way. So even then, I knew that, oh God, this is a terrible choice. But I was so stupid. I was stupid. I was so stupid that I was. We lost Versatech. Versatech, good night, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us. I was excited about Paul Ryan. I thought Paul Ryan was a good conservative. Didn't realize that he was worse than Mitt, because Mitt's an idiot. Yeah, there's nothing to Mitt, but Paul Ryan was actually smart, and he was doing stuff behind the scenes, and he kind of knew the deal and was going along playing the game. Uh, Very disturbing. Uh, and then who was the other one? Help me out. McCain, John McCain. I hadn't completely drank the Kool Aid on John McCain, but I was much more enthusiastic about his run than I should have been in retrospect. It was the veteran thing. Uh, yeah, it was the time in it was a POW, the Hanoi Hilton. Uh, I thought that was uh, made up for all the other stuff. Now, of course, we know that it didn't, and he got the chance to uh, show his true colors before he died. Let's hear what Patrick's saying here, because you can add Manitoba all the same as Alberta and Saskatchewan, three great provinces like Texas. McCain was kind of, Mark, who knows what that POW that time in the Hanoi Hilton did to him. By the time he was getting up, he could have been all kinds of, you know. Uh, McCain was the Bo Bergdahl of Vietnam. Uh, he wasn't that bad. He did get shot down in a fighter jet, broke his arm in the plane crash. Mm. Now, by all accounts, he wasn't a great pilot. You know what McCain was a part of that I didn't know until that I researched. He was running for. I got arrested for John McCain. I got sent to jail for supporting John McCain in that presidential primary. Uh, sort of. But I wrote a. They didn't know how bad off I was. I was in a bad way. I was in sort of like close to the bottom of my descent into white trashness. But earlier in my first marriage, my ex wife and I had been really involved in local Republican politics. We'd even been. She was a delegate to the national convention like 3 or 4 times, and I went once. Uh, yeah, his wife leaving him. But what I didn't know about, and so I wrote this letter to the editor. They had called me and asked me to be his campaign chair for the county I live in, not knowing that I'd had this utter devastation wreaked in my life and was, you know, homeless, or not. I wasn't homeless at the time, but I was barely employed and I wasn't paying my child support, and I was drinking way too much, and it was terrible. Uh, but so I figured it's because I was the campaign chairman for his election campaign for the county, I should do something at least. So I wrote a letter to the editor supporting his campaign, and it made kind of a splash. I'm a decent writer, uh, and the old guard around here at that time was still barely reformed Democrats. The county had gone straight Republican a decade before, but the old guard, the people in charge, were still like not happy about it. They were all secretly still Democrats. So I wrote this letter, and I didn't actually know it at the time, but there was a warrant out for my being behind on my child support. I had a child support warrant out, and I wrote this letter to the editor, and the sheriff the sheriff apparently had been ignoring me. He hadn't been enforcing the warrant. Uh, but when I wrote this big letter to the editor and did this whole support of John McCain, he's like, well, now the jackass has skylined himself. So they had to come, they had to come arrest me and throw me because they couldn't act like he was acting like they couldn't find me because I didn't have an address. But when I wrote a letter to the editor, it's like, okay, fine, we got to go. So I spent 2.5 months in jail for writing a letter to the editor in support of John McCain. But there's kind of this, if you're like, especially if you were in the Navy, you're probably familiar with what's called the Forrestal incident, and the Forrestal was this aircraft carrier that caught on fire. Uh, no enemy action; it just caught on fire and killed and seriously injured quite a few sailors. I can't remember how many, uh, but John McCain was sitting in his jet on the Forrestal when whatever happened happened. And one of the charges that gets made is that he fired that the oh, look at this. Patrick says I will be voting Polyev, but for one issue only. He is pro-gun big time. He was captured a little like Ron DeSantis. That would be a great comparison. Ah, well, there you go, Patrick. That's excellent. Uh, I mean, if he's pro-gun, I'm on board. He's got my vote. I'll vote early. I'll vote often for a pro-gun guy. I'll even vote fraudulently across the international borders. But one of the things that gets said about John McCain is that he started that by accidentally firing one of the missiles, basically had an accidental discharge. Uh, Patrick, they really want you to be American. America. Now, I don't think that it's can be proven, but that's one of the theories is that there was apparently, I think the most likely scenario is that a missile did go off on the flight deck, and I think it's highly likely that it either came from McCain's jet or the jet right next to him. But yeah, John McCain was a terrible pilot by all. He crashed in flight training. He ran the flight trainer into a power line. And then he had that incident on the Forrestal. Whatever happened. Now he also pulled a pilot out of a plane on the flight deck of the Forrestal too. Yeah. So I always get a little where I get defensive for John McCain is when it comes to his military service. He had honorable service, and there's some talk about whether or not he cracked in the POW camp, but everyone cracked in the POW camp. There's just an honest to God, unmitigated American hero by the name of Jeremiah Denton, and he was an admiral in the Navy, ended up being an admiral in the Navy, but he was in the Hanoi Hilton the same time McCain was. And what Jeremiah Denton said was that everyone cracks, everyone breaks. All you do is you have to pick up and start resisting again. You crack, you hold out for as long as you can, and then when you break, you pick up and you start over and you start resisting again. But he said it's they will break you. I'm sorry, they will crack you. You have to not let them break you. And that's my paraphrase of what he said. So if John McCain, cracked under torture in the Hanoi Hilton, well, that's okay. That I would, God knows that's some of the worst things a man can go through. So I wouldn't hold that against him. Now, he may have been an incompetent pilot, and I think there's some evidence for that. But as far as I can tell from what I looked at, his service itself was honorable. That he served courageously in wartime. Oh, look at that! And Polyev doesn't talk about religion, but his wife is a devout Christian from Venezuela. Let me tell you something about Venezuelan women. Uh, you see, Palmetto, I don't think anyone gets shot down on purpose. That is, no, you don't get shot down on purpose. You might defect and land your plane and turn yourself over, but getting shot down on purpose, that is just too dicey. You have no idea how that's going to turn out. You know, uh, that shot might not, clip your wing and give you time to bail out. That shot might just hit the fuel tank and blow the whole thing sky high. And uh, I am skeptical of the idea that anyone would get shot down on purpose, unless they were just trying to die. But he actually, when he got shot down, he crash landed in a lake and broke his arm. Uh, yeah, no, he got shot down, and then a bunch of villagers pulled him out of the lake and beat the shit out of him with rakes or something. I can't remember the full story now, but it was a real deal. But anywho, let me tell you something about Venezuela. I do not know if all Venezuelan women look like they're super hot 18-year-olds until they're 60, or as soon as they turn 18, they start looking like 60-year-olds. But all the women in Venezuela are either super hot 18-year-olds or they're super hot 60-year-olds. There's no in between with Venezuelan women. At least not the women in Venezuela that I saw when I was there. Now, this was 1995. It was a long time ago. But I pretty much spent 2 weeks walking around like this. That cartoon of the wolf where his eyes pop out of his head and his tongue rolls out, that was pretty much me for 2 weeks in Venezuela. I don't think I saw one ugly woman in the entire time I was there. Uh, I must have fallen in love 10 times a day for 2 weeks. Greece was the same way. There just were no ugly women in Greece. They were all really attractive or they were like elderly. And I just don't know if they all like look elderly as soon as they turn 18 or if they all look 18 until they turn 65 or whatever. But there was just no in between. Yeah, no, Canada is a great place. There's just those two provinces that wreck it for everybody. And the same things happening here in Georgia. Uh, yeah, Georgia's to the right of Attila the Hun, except for Atlanta, and Atlanta is just dragging us down. Uh, you know, I want there to be some way for us to secede from Atlanta or kick Atlanta out of the state. Hell, I'd be willing to join with Alabama. I mean, worst case scenario, absolute last possible option. But if I had to do it, I'd do it. That tells you how bad it's getting down there in Atlanta. That place is off the rails. But I'd be willing to be an Alabamanian. Northern Alabama is beautiful. ETS. It is a very pretty place. It starts getting some rolling hills up there as it starts getting towards Chattanooga. The problem is that it's still Alabama, uh, and saying that it's the most beautiful part of Alabama is it's like saying that, well, it's just she's fat but she's got a really pretty face. I mean, well, that's cool and all, but it's still Alabama. Cow agrees with me. But that being said, if you had to choose between Alabama or South Carolina, boy, it's a tough toss up. I mean, it's a tough toss up to choose between Alabama and South. There's been some just absolutely batshit crazy people come out of South Carolina. y'all can speculate who that might be. Uh, but how you doing, Palmetto Paratrooper? No, we would probably end up. Yeah, Kentucky is looking good. I love Arkansas. Eastern Tennessee is fan freaking tastic. Hey, Kimmy made it. How you doing, Kimmy's? I don't think we've seen you in a while. How you doing? Them six chillins. Or did you tell us that you were expecting a seventh? Or you were expecting the sixth? I don't remember now. You'll have to update us. No, Eastern Tennessee is gorgeous. It's just the most beautiful part of the country. Uh, the weather's perfect. There's not one bad thing about East Tennessee. That's about uh, too Confederate for me. What? Um, oh, Mark's in Iowa. That's that's way too cold up there, brother. Um, yeah, I love Eastern Tennessee. That's about maybe 50 miles north of where I'm at. Uh, Maybe a little less. Uh, and I just love being able to drive up through Tennessee and go visit folks. The Sasquatch and Dr. Bones, Practitioner Bones, they both live in Eastern Tennessee. And I don't get to get up there often, but when I do, I just absolutely love it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. Yeah, I love Missouri, Kimmy. We actually we were in Missouri this summer. First time I'd really ever been there. And we were in southwestern Missouri in the Ozarks. And I liked that pretty much almost as much as I like where I live in Georgia. Uh, I felt very, very, very comfortable there. Uh, I would go back, and I assume northern Arkansas is a similar feel. We rode through Arkansas, but we actually stayed for the weekend in Missouri, uh, and I could see the soil is not great now. I mean, the soil was it seemed like it was rocky and sandy where we were at, but that might have just been that area. But the mountains were beautiful, lots of trees, way out in the country. Uh, Everyone we talked to seemed like our kind of people. Really, really, really liked Missouri. So, I assume one day that Atlanta's going to eat this whole state, and I'm going to have to flee to somewhere more freedom oriented. And Missouri is high up on that list. Uh, Eastern Tennessee because it's so close, and I could stay close to my roots. I'm sure I won't be able to drag all of my children and grandchildren with me. So, Eastern Tennessee would let me stay within striking distance of all them. But if there was no consideration, no family considerations, and I had to move, Missouri might be it now, right now. Uh, as much as I like Eastern Tennessee, uh, I really liked Southwestern Missouri. Really liked it. All right. Well, what else we got going on? Yeah, Missouri's got great homeschooling laws. It's got great gun laws. It's the best Second Amendment state in the union. There's just not a downside in Missouri as far as I can tell. Oh, Kimmy says the in Northeast Missouri the winters can be bad, and your dirt there is beautiful. Well, that makes sense because that's like more like Illinois up there, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, and I know Illinois's got good dirt and terrible winters, so it makes sense that you guys would too in northwestern Missouri. I just got to be in the mountains. I just don't like flatland. Uh, where we live is, I think that cow got loose. I think the cow got loose and she's headed down the hill. uh, I just love being protected by these mountains, and all the bad weather comes from the west. It hits the western slope of those mountains, and it just jumps right over. We're on the eastern side of them. No, I guess not. Uh, and it just jumps right over us. So we're right at 900 feet above sea level, maybe closer to 1,000 feet, kind of right there. But we're in a valley in a cove about halfway up the slope of the mountains on the eastern side. And man, we never get bad weather. We never get the tornadoes. Nothing. I mean, every once in a while we'll get a tornado. I think everyone does occasionally. So like every 10 years or so we might hear about a tornado touching down. We actually had one about 5 or 6 years ago come about a quarter mile from the house, and it was a big one. It did some pretty good damage, but that's incredibly rare. It just doesn't happen here hardly ever. Yeah, tornadoes. Whew, those are scary. I slept through that one because it came in the middle of the night, but I mean, it just wreaked devastation uh, everywhere. Uh, we had one hit here back in the '80s. Yeah, yeah, about halfway up a mountain, Tim, and especially if you can be on the eastern side of the mountains. About halfway up the mountain on the eastern side, it's just the best of every option. And even though we're in a valley, we're at the top of the valley, and there's 400 foot of drop below us, uh, and probably in the space of a mile, terrain drops 400 foot. We don't even have to worry about flooding, even though we're in this valley. Uh, we're still high enough up the hillside that we're not going to get flooded. The land is still pretty usable. Y'all have seen the land in the videos and stuff. We live in a really good spot. Our dirt is okay. It's not great. We've improved it uh, some, and we'll improve it more going forward. We really are in kind of a nice spot. But the growth is coming this way. We're not too far off I-85. We're probably within 20 miles of I-85, and the growth is just coming down from Greenville and up from Atlanta, and we're just going to get squeezed out at some point. Might not be in my lifetime. Yeah, battery ran out, but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. Uh, we're gonna we're gonna have to make some hard decisions here. And probably the next, I don't know, 10 to 20 years. I'm hoping that Trump's immigration policies are going to slow down some of that growth, because we're not running 1 million people a year in the country, or 3 million a year, however many it was. And we're not packing the insane numbers of new people in every year for a while. Uh, and so I'm hoping that'll slow it down just a little bit, uh, and and we can catch a breath. And but I've got all my kids are getting older, and they're not all going to stay in this area. Some of them are going to leave for sure. Uh, but my parents are here. Mariah's parents are here. Uh, she's got a brother and a sister here. And now we've got grandchildren that were born here, and the grandchildren have the other sides of their families are all here, and we're just very, very, very interwoven into the fabric of the place. We've got roots now, which is funny. Neither one of us were born here. I was born in Charleston, but Dad was in the service. We just happened to be in Charleston because he was in the Navy. Mariah was actually born in Western Massachusetts, uh, so it's not like we couldn't put down new roots somewhere else. It's just, damn, we got dug in deep here, you know. And I've been here most of my life that I don't really remember living anywhere else. When Dad got out of the Navy, we came to this area. Uh, so this is home to me. I was probably I was probably 3 or 4 when we moved here. I'm 49 now. I have grandchildren who were born here, and my grandchildren now can start claiming to be local. That's how it is up here in these mountain areas. You know, I've been here for 45 plus years, and people will still look at me and say, "You ain't from around here." I'll be like, "No, no, I'm not from around here." Where were you born? I at least get to say Charleston because yeah, we weren't from Charleston either, but I was born there, and that carries a certain amount of credibility with the older Southern set, you know, because that was the birthplace of the Confederacy and all that. So you know, the South will rise again. Crowd stop looking at me funny when I tell them I was born in Charleston. They don't ask any more questions at that point. Uh, but if they dug just a little deeper, they'd find out that mom and dad were both born and raised northwest of Chicago, and that whole Charleston thing was just a happenstance, a vagary of fate, as it were. Uh, but even that, dad was born in northwest of Chicago, but his dad was born in Texas, and his dad left Texas after World War II for a few years, and went to Chicago, but he ended up going back to Texas and leaving my dad and my uncle in Chicago. So even that was not really where we're from. Even that was just sort of a blip. Uh, my grandmother was actually born in West Virginia, but she ended up getting adopted. She was Irish. Her parents were like straight off the boat, pretty much. They were coal miners, Irish coal miners in West Virginia. Uh, but they weren't married. They got in some trouble, and back in those days, that was a bigger deal. And so Grandma was adopted out of what was they called a foundling hospital. Uh, and I've actually seen her birth certificate. Her birth certificate says illegitimate on it, but she was adopted by a Polish family. One of the nurses at the hospital had a sister who was barren, wasn't having any kids. So she arranged for her her sister to adopt my grandmother, and so Grandma ended up being raised in Chicago by a Polish family. Uh, what did Kimmy just say? I am looking forward to the Morels here. This place has been home since the late 1880s for my whole family. Oh wow, yeah, 1880s in Missouri. That was actually the Wild West back then. When we think of the Wild West, like it was, damn cow. It was Kansas, it was Missouri, it was all that area up there, just past that first line of states, just past the Mississippi. It wasn't so much, Arizona and the Dakotas like we think about. Uh, if you look at some of those old gangs that were running around that you hear about, like gosh, I'm gonna not be able to think about any of those gangs now. The Jesse Jameses and all them, they were in, I think they were in Kansas and Missouri. Uh, my people had actually left extreme northwestern North Carolina, way up in the mountains. Uh, After the Civil War, my great grandfather left, spent a little bit of time in Kentucky, and then he went on to Texas, way out in West Texas. It was still Comanche country. The Comanches were still traveling back and forth through that area when he first moved out there and started a sheep ranch. Yeah, and then my great grandfather was the first white baby boy born in that county. What's Patrick saying? Finally got my sidearm permit. Wow. So I got myself a Glock 48. That's interesting. Got it about 2 weeks ago. I went crazy and probably shot 709 millimeter, 150 grain last week, 15 grain last weekend. Uh, Kimmy's looking forward to the, okay, the morals. Awesome, Patrick. I'm surprised you guys can have a Glock. I mean, I'm proud. I'm glad. I'm a little shocked that the things I hear that they do ban and then Glocks can be owned. That's crazy to me. Uh, what are the restrictions? How much do you get to use it? I mean, like, do you get to keep it in the house? Does it have to be stored at a range? I know there's some places, and I don't know that this is Canada. I think this might be Europe, where you're allowed to own a gun, but the gun has to be stored at a armory, like a public armory type thing, and you get to go shoot it there at the armory. Uh, so, like, can you transport it back and forth? You get to keep it in the home. I'm assuming they don't let you carry it. Uh, but I'd be interested to know what kind of use you get to get out of it, because a Glock 48. Which one is the 48? Now, I'm not a Glock guy. Why can't I? I can't even think of which model that is. Obviously, it's 9 mil because you said it was. Oh, Patrick says needed for protection against bears. That is legal, so it's under lock and key at home. So, like, if you were out like hiking, could you carry it hiking? Uh, Skinny Glock. It's the single stack. So because it's probably got to be under 10 rounds, I would imagine. Like, can you carry it in the woods when you're out in the woods? Because I mean, obviously that's where you'd want it. That's where you're going to meet the bears at. Although I guess up there the bears are kind of everywhere, yeah. And big bears too. Not like these little tiny Paddington bears we got around here, uh, or you might have a 100-pound bear wandering around every once in a while getting in the trash cans. But if you hear of a 350-pound bear around here, it's a big deal. uh, that's a big bear for us. We got these little tiny. Yeah, 10 mil might be a better choice for a bear, but if you got 10 rounds of 9 mil, hell, you can dissuade them with 10 rounds of 9 mil. And 10 mil is so expensive to shoot. Okay, the Glock 48 is the skinny Glock 19, so it's just the Glock 19 with a basically restricted magazine capacity. Uh, I mean, I wouldn't want to shoot a bear with a 9 mil, but if I had to shoot a bear with a 9 mil, I'm sure there's been bear killed with a 9 mil. 10 millimeter is just so damn expensive. Uh, but then I'm also the guy who loves 41 Magnum. And that's so expensive. I had to just sell my. I had a Blackhawk and 41 Magnum, and I just eventually had to sell it because it just wasn't. When I could find ammunition, I couldn't afford the ammunition. Yeah, just regular old like semi-jacketed wad cutters were $2 a round. Yeah, 10 millimeters. I mean, it never really went away, but it's definitely getting more popular. I got nothing against it. Uh, like I said, I like 41 Magnum better, but that's because I'm an idiot, and I like every round. I like all the unpopular rounds that never made it. I still think 357 Sig, was a fantastic round. Ooh, Colt Delta Elite. That is a sweet pistol. Tim, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us. Shalom. I know this wasn't like a really exciting, interesting one, but I just had to get back into it. Uh, uh, there's just been a lot going on lately, and a lot going on. We've had a funeral. We've had a baby. The baby spent a weekend in the hospital. It's fine. It all ended up being good, uh, but just crazy, crazy couple of months for us. Yeah, 350. I actually do still love 356 ETS. I think it is probably the best option for a carry around. Uh, but it just didn't make it. Okay, Patrick says I can carry in the woods. You can't carry it. You can open carry under a prospector license. I have both protection against wildlife and prospector mining grandfather clause. I can't carry in a city. Well, that's pretty good. So you can open carry it in the woods or when you're prospecting. That seems like it's not absolutely as horrid as maybe sometimes we accuse you guys of. At least they reckon. I mean, it makes sense prospecting because I mean you might have a couple $1,000s in gold on you from sometimes prospecting if you had a really good day or week or whatever. I should do more prospecting. I live in a gold area. I live in. I don't know if y'all ever heard of Dahlonega. Dahlonega was the first gold rush in America in the 1820s or 40s. I can't remember which. I think it might have been the 20s, 1820s, I think. Uh, and I don't live in Dahlonega, but I'm kind of not far from Dahlonega. And there's been gold found in this whole area. And pretty much the prospectors will tell you any stream in North Georgia's got gold in it. And I'm a huge gold bug. I love gold. I don't like gold as much as silver, but I still like it. And I should try to prospect a little bit. But I don't have time. I've got all these projects. I've got 20 projects I've started. I haven't followed through on any of them. I've got to stop starting I have to stop starting new projects until I finish some of the old ones. There's a sentence for you. I have to stop starting, or I have to start stopping. But it would be cool to go hit some of these streams out here and pan a little gold. I don't know how many of them have been hit really hard with like a metal detector in my area. You get a little bit farther west from here, and they've been worked over pretty good. But what I've heard is that there's always more gold kind of breaking loose and rolling downstream. So even if they've been worked over in the past, it's still worthwhile checking them every once and again. But like I said, I don't have the bandwidth to take on a new project. I've got too many. I've got a cow that's useless. I've got chickens that need to be more valuable. I've probably got 10 different home improvement projects that are half started. Uh, I've got a half acre below the house that I started clearing that needs to get finished clearing. I've got a bathroom remodel started. I've got a second bathroom remodel started. I'm adding a bedroom. I've got this porch half started. Now I need a new roof. It's just thing after thing after thing. Uh, and and the things I started, a lot of them I've realized I didn't do them right to start with, and I need to go back uh, and redo some of the things I did to begin with. It's always the thing you got to do in order to do the thing you need to do in order to do the thing you want to do. Uh, I need a personal assistant. I do. I need. Uh, if you wouldn't sleep, you could get everything done. But then I'd keep everybody awake banging all night long. What I need to do is get rid of this smartphone. If I got rid of this smartphone, I probably still wouldn't get anything done, but at least I'd be reading good books again instead of doom scrolling on Reddit so I can get outraged at how stupid liberals are. If you ever want to lose faith in humanity, get on Reddit. Those are some stupid people. I mean, those are some stupid, stupid people. The sad thing, yeah, the phone is just. Patrick says I donated all the meat and was real nice with the officers. One is a friend now. I missed something. I should probably go back and see what he said because it sounds like it was interesting. And I had done pretty good about getting off Facebook, but then I found Reddit because there actually is some decent information on Reddit. There's some like really uh, niche targeted communities like around scrapping. Is why I actually ended up on there was from the scrapping, and then I found some stuff about silver and gold and some other things I'm interested in. But then I found all the other politics. The politics is just insane, absolutely insane. So don't get on Reddit; you'll regret it. All right, I think we're about to call this one. It's starting to get cold out here. It must be 50 degrees. Mark. uh, I don't know. I can't. I'm here in my jacket and my big fuzzy beard. And Rico's still with us. Rico, what do you decide about the National Guard? You going to do it? Yeah, I should start the stove. ETS says 50 degrees as a heat wave. It's going to be a heat wave good night because it's 50 degrees. And we'll quit planning, Rico, and go do it. Kimmy, it was good to see you, ma'am. I'm glad we got to catch up with you. Like I said, I'm sorry it was boring this night, but I just had to get started and get back in and start talking again. See if we can start building this community again. Because it really has been a huge positive in my life. The people I've met through this channel have just been transformational in my life. If y'all remember Jeff, who used to do these with me, I met him through the channel, and he's just been a wonderful friend and a huge, and a bunch of other people. The job I have right now is a man I met through the channel. I have met so many people and had so many good experiences I would not have had without the channel that I got to get it fired back up and moving again. Plus, I've got a project in the works, another one of my projects that I'm hoping I can start sharing soon. That the channel is going to be a big boon towards. I just have to get it a little bit farther along before I can really launch it. So I'm hoping maybe end of summer I can start sharing it, and the channel's going to be a big help for that. So anywho, all righty guys, we're done with this. I know you're all done with me. Hopefully I'll be here next week, and who knows, maybe I'll even get some videos done. And we can start getting back on track with all this stuff. But we appreciate the hell out of you, and are glad you spent a few hours with us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next week.